Yes, you clicked on this link, and that is a very smart thing to do indeed, because EHEDG has another very valuable and free of charge webinar to present to you. And we always do that by interviewing the webinar presenters, the experts. This webinar is all about the optimization of cleanability and the maintenance aspects of food processing environments. And our webinar presenters today are Hui Zhang. She is the quality expert hygienic processing at Unilever, chair of EH Working Group Cleaning Validation, and Dimitri Tavernarakis. He is the Global Hygienic Design Excellence Lead at Mondelez and also chair of the EH Working Group Maintenance and Installations. So two high-level experts here that you can listen to and that you can pose questions to later in the webinar. I'm going, of course, Dimitri, to start with Hui Zhang, ladies first, but thank you for joining us.
Hi, Rob. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Hui, thank you for joining us as well. And you are going to take on the cleaning optimization part of this webinar. How are you going to approach this topic?
Okay, let me start with the cleaning parts. In the cleaning parts, I would like to start to illustrate why the cleanability of the equipment is very important for food safety and product quality. And then I will explain what is basic principle of cleaning validation based on our EHEDG guideline, Doc 45. Then I will illustrate what is the key design feature regarding hygienic design of the equipment, design of the cleaning system. And then I will use some practical examples to illustrate why this design feature are important. Why are they important for the equipment cleanability? And finally, nowadays the automation comes more and more in the food industry, in our industry in general. So I also would like to cover how the automation can make a positive contribution to the cleanability of the equipment.
Dimitri, just like Hui, you are also involved in developing guidelines for EHEDG. And in these guidelines, there are already lots of information to be found about maintenance. So how does this webinar add value and information to the already existing information in the guidelines?
The guidelines for designing new equipment are very clear. The point is, what should we be doing with equipment which are already built? And this is where the challenge is. Should we be maintaining them? For how long should we be maintaining them? 20, 15, 30 years old equipment. We know from the maintenance protocols and maintenance management methodologies that equipment older, they are more prone to breakdown. So would we allow in our facilities equipment that break down frequently with increased likelihood of contamination in the facility? Or should we discard this equipment? And we emphasize a lot in this new guideline on how can the business define the end of lifetime for equipment, have a justified decision why we should take out an equipment, or why could we refurbish the equipment and prolong its lifetime based on its value, based on the depreciation value, and all that stuff that the corporation should take into account.
In EH, we have numbers of guidelines to help people to achieve that. But of course, it's impossible to really go to detail. However, I would like to use we use a couple of examples from practice to illustrate why this design is important and how to implement this hygienic design in our shop floor.
Dimitri, as we all know here, maintenance is a very complex field to do right. There are many variables involved, and not only those that we can control in our own companies, but also those of the suppliers of the components that are part of the process line. So what would you say is your approach when it comes to deciding, always making this very difficult decision with regard to legacy systems, when to maintain and when to replace components?
Yeah. So first of all, we need to make sure that the equipment has available spare parts and components from its OEM. If the equipment has been supported by supplier, then it's a critical equipment. If it breaks down, we don't have spare parts. That's one parameter. Secondly, is what is the product that this equipment is doing? It might be a very special equipment doing a very special process dedicated to our product, even in IP protected. And then the other factor is the age of the equipment. Another parameter is the residual value. We know we're talking about corporations. We're talking about investments. The equipment is our capital. They are written off throughout a period of time. Financially, let's say that in engineering, we expect to build equipment that they last around 20 years. And also at the same time, finance, they look on a write-off period of the equipment for around 20 years. So within 20 years, the equipment, they have paid off their investment. So what is the residual value now of that equipment after 20 years or after 30 years? How much does it worth the way it is? How frequently does it break down? How much does it cost to maintain it reliable and safe for the product? At the same time, we have regulations that are updated. So based on the new food safety regulations, maintaining a food safety program, maybe it's more rigorous, maybe it's more complicated. And because the equipment is designed with different standards, different user requirements at that time, probably it takes too long to clean it. So the downtime for sanitation and for maintenance is also increased. So we need to see all of these parameters holistically and make a decision. Does it worth to keep on operating an older equipment with more likelihood to break down, more prone on contaminating my line, and significant downtime to clean? Or should I just invest in another equipment? And by that, I reduce the downtime, I increase my productivity, I lower my likelihood of contamination of the line and all these benefits that I'm getting.
Hui, you are also the chair of the EHEDG guideline cleaning and validation. Very important aspect, of course, when it comes to knowing if the cleaning has been successful. I guess you will also include information from that guideline in this webinar, don't you?
Yes, definitely. I will refer to that guidelines. Guidelines illustrate very well the design principle of the equipment. I will also refer to other guidelines which related to the design of the cleaning system.
Now, most regular attendees of our EHEDG webinar series know that each webinar consists of a 30 to 40 minute long presentation followed up by a Q&A session. And that is, of course, also a very valuable aspect of these webinars. You can pose questions straight right to the expert themselves and get some first answers and even some follow-up answers later via email if requested. What, Dimitri, are generally questions that you receive when you optimize food processing, operational aspects like maintenance?
So most of the questions that I'm getting are around tactics and methodologies. So how should we do crack test? What is the level of acceptance of pasteurizer? What is the frequency, for example? How frequently should we be doing the crack test on a pasteurizer or the heat exchangers, plate heat exchangers? So all these components that they need, they have significant food safety risk. And they need to be monitored and to be maintained properly. What are the best methodologies? What is your recommendation in terms of what technology should I use for a crack test? Or pipes, jacketed pipes, pressure test, inert gas, different methodologies. And these preventive tactics to ensure the integrity of the system in order to prevent the contamination.
So, Dimitri, ladies first, gentlemen last. So the honor is up to you to invite everyone here watching to join our webinar. Thank you.
Of course. So, guys, by now you should already know the critical component that maintenance of food production equipment have, and we have been discussing and investigating this thing thoroughly with colleagues. I'm very sure you will find it very, very interesting to join, and we are very, very interested to hear your questions and learn more with the things that we probably might not know already, and you would trigger us to get to know more. So please join us, and looking forward to meet you.
And we're looking forward to this webinar.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay, thank you to Rob.